At the height of the gold rush, Rick Ness was one of the most successful miners. He lost his mind when a rookie mechanic fixed his $1 million excavator. A little boy did fix his $1 million machine. We will look at the details and ups and downs of Rick Ness's mining operations in this video. We will see how the seasons changed, how technology broke down, and how driven Ness was to find rare gold. Come with us as we look at the exciting shows, with a focus on how Rick Ness's never-ending search for wealth in the hard desert changes, succeeds, and fails. In his never-ending search for money, Rick finds himself traveling into uncharted territory because he thinks he has found his most important goal yet. His huge machine for moving dirt is gone, and his team is getting smaller. The odds are against him. When Rick realizes how serious the situation is and posts that a skilled mechanic is needed right away, it's a turning point. Now, a 20-year-old student becomes an important figure because he is asked to show off his skills by building the complex, multi-million-dollar 750 backhoe. The apprentice carefully attaches the bucket and 750 book stick, showing how complicated the job is. They were moved safely by a movable base set to a small gauge. The thought of having to deal with Duncan Creek's various terrain adds another level of difficulty. Torsten, the apprentice, changes the tracks expertly by slowly loosening the bolts that hold the chassis in place. He cleverly positions the digger with the help of the boom, showing how creative the team is when things go wrong. The 750's bucket is particularly impressive because it is so big. It's 3 times bigger than the 480's. Time is important for Rick and his team because they work in less than a half week. Their staff is only 4 people, and they don't have a fixed driver. Rick's earlier success, in which he made an average of just over 70 ounces of gold per week, is very different from this situation. The problems that are coming up show how strong, flexible, and determined the team is as they keep going after their huge gold goal. The group is aware that Carl, the gold miner, is not there and stresses how important he is to fixing machine problems. They both hope Carl gets better and are worried about taking care of the equipment's upkeep without a trained tech. Most people agree that Torsten's ability to put together the 750 digger was a turning point that made the mining business a lot better. At this time of year, it's hard for Rick to find a plumber, so he's thankful that Torsten helped him right away. As the team gathers for the weekly gold weigh, Rick talks about the effects of having a smaller staff and the need for a worker to fix problems with the pumps. Even with all of these problems, the crew stays friends, and they raise a glass to the amazing gold crop that only 4 crew members, including the new Torsten, were able to handle. The story shows how flexible, determined, and flexible the crew was in getting past problems so they could reach their gold mining goals. The team is still dealing with the problems of the season. They are looking ahead with a mix of determination and confidence as the successful end of the gold weight has given them hope. And yet, none of these problems affect Rick in any way. In fact, they might even be a good thing. We can see that Brennan has a hard time because he can't find any good land. He doesn't care and takes a wild guess as to where a new cut should be made. Almost magically, the chosen area is cleaned up and fully open in a matter of seconds. When people find possible gold in a test pan, they decide to call the new site the Bacon Strip. During the gold rush, there is a tense moment when the parking brake on a rock truck gets caught on a pile of pay dirt. Even though the rescue is shown with dramatic music and quick cuts, the story makes fun of the fact that, to everyone's surprise, no one dies. The episode ends with a smooth cleanup that yields a respectable 75.92 ounces of gold. But things change in the gold rush game when Rick's team goes through a number of staff changes. Even though it's hard, Rick finds an amazing 122.21 ounces of gold. When Rick spends a lot of time in Rally Valley in late fall, more things happened. He is suddenly called away from his work to let him know that the claim owner is there. When late fall turns into early winter, things take a turn that no one saw coming. The owner of the claim says she wants to sell it to Rick, but she won't say how much. For some reason, Rick is given an extra chance. He has 2 years to make the 150-ounce down payment if he can. After that, there are heated conversations, looks, and thoughts that make Rick come up with what seems like an odd plan. The first exciting part of Rick's plan is to go back in time to late summer. Running Monster Red and Rocky at the same time is a brave move. The storyteller builds a sense of mystery and tension by picking up on people's confusion about the strange editing choices. As the story goes on, an accident happens when a rock truck tips over while backing up to dump on a pay pile. The part that's unclear is when it turns out that the truck was empty the whole time, but fully filled when it tipped over. This makes the story even less clear. It's time to clean up in the middle of all the strange things that are going on. Rocky gets 95.4 ounces, but Monster Red gets 219.8 ounces, which is even more. But when people are celebrating a win, Winter comes back quickly. Rick is not bothered by the passing of time. He decides to take advantage of the situation and buy the claim from its owner, promising to pay the 150 ounces that they had agreed upon. All of these show how unstable gold mining can be by showing both losses and wins. At the end, Rick makes a big decision that will affect the future of his business in Rally Valley. Even though it had snowed earlier in the season, Rick thought the big snowfall in the middle of winter was the first big snowfall of the year. Rockies will be closed for the year because of the snow, says Rick. This choice makes someone suddenly sneeze, which draws attention to the problems and irritations the mining operation is having. The fact that the pay in Rally Valley is so wet shows that they have hit the water table. To fix this, Rick adds a pump. Cutting that goes very quickly and exciting scenes. People say that the lack of progress the next morning is because the pump is too small, but it looks like there may be more issues. Rick decides out of the blue to take another pump without permission, which leads to a dry cut the next day. The story is mostly about the drama of the pump problem, but the water table's uneven effects make you wonder about some things. Since Rick has to pay $40,000 for the pump, it becomes more likely that Fred, who seems to have endless resources, could help with money. Even though there are problems and disagreements, the cleanup goes well, and 206.09 ounces of gold are found. These different kinds of problems and good outcomes show how unpredictable gold digging can be in the winter. As soon as winter comes early on Rick's claim, he might call all of his miners together for an encouraging speech and tell them to work harder. This is a common theme during the mining season. Rick sets up 2 machines to feed the 400-yard-per-hour wash facility so that he can get the most work done. One loader had electrical problems while it was working. These problems can be quickly fixed by cleaning the links between the batteries. Suddenly, a lot of the cut gives way, which makes the person angry and makes them swear and rub their face. Drone footage shows that the group quickly runs away because they are afraid for their lives and their gear. As the last step in the cleanup process is completed, an amazing 393 ounces are found. For the season, Rick has now weighed 2,047 ounces of gold. When you look more closely at the final gold weigh-ins, you can see that he found 19% of his gold in the last 4 weeks of the season. This is an amazing feat of gold mining. Overall, it was a great search, but do you remember when Rick's girlfriend showed up and saved the day?
A Dutch gold miner, upon discovering that his stationary dredges were not going to get him to his aim, made the decision to concentrate on an abandoned trommel machine that had been constructed by a renegade miner several decades earlier. This is the story that centers around the Dutch gold miner. As opposed to transporting material to a predetermined spot, the trommel provided mobility and the freedom to move with pay soil. In order to return to base camp, the miner was required to disassemble and transport the trommel, which resulted in a daily expenditure of more than $60,000. The steep terrain and boat voyage made the journey challenging. One truck had a damaged tire and twisted rim, but the miner was unharmed. The crew worked hard to disassemble and transfer the trommel, moving the 20-ton drum onto a military tank transporter despite adverse conditions. During the trip, the truck got bogged in the mud and needed a backhoe loader to release it. The mining boss was pleased when they returned the trommel to camp after 3 days. The mobile trommel appeared efficient and flexible since it could handle massive amounts of material faster than anything else the digger had employed. As gold prices were at an all-time high, the miner relied on the trommel. The mining operator always thought long-term and took risks, and the trommel was a future investment. It helped him keep his business going despite all the challenges.
Pipeline to see what happens.
The mining veteran had previously spent over $1 million on a custom excavator to dig 9,000 ounces of gold. His prosperity came from smart investments and taking chances that others wouldn't. The Dutch miner was known for his tough management style, which was not always well appreciated. After throwing gasoline into a dredge pond and lighting it on fire, he was criticized and fined for environmental infractions. His harsh treatment of employees, especially during failures, often irritated them. Safety and the insistence on correcting mistakes created a high-pressure workplace. Living on a reality show made things harder. The prospector was scrutinized by the public because his every move was broadcast. The risk-taker knew his actions would have consequences, whether they violated environmental laws or mistreated his crew. However, he remained true to himself, took risks, took responsibility for his actions, and handled criticism. In the mining veteran's ongoing struggle to remain gold game leader, the trauma was just another episode. The risk-taker had always gambled, and this time it paid off. Mechanical problems and tough terrain plagued Yukon mining. However, his determination was unwavering. It was a gamble, but the trauma helped him meet his output goals and reaffirm his purpose in life.